Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Eric Schneiderman, the New York State Attorney General. I'm joined here today by my partners and colleagues in law enforcement, New York City Police Commissioner Ray Kelly, Deputy Commissioner Cohen, I think Assistant Chief Galati is here, New York National Guard Colonel Richard Sloma, who commands the Counter Drug Task Force and provided critical help, including Arabic translation, in this investigation, and from the Department of Homeland Security, Deputy Special Agent in Charge, Anthony Scandifio. We also want to acknowledge the help of our colleagues in the New York State Department of Taxation and Finance, a very important partner in all such investigations. From my office, we have Perry Kadenoff, the Deputy Attorney General in charge of the Organized Crime Task Force, lead attorneys Jonathan Sennett, Tarek Rahman, and the lead investigators Jeffrey Sauter and Artie Schwartz, and our Executive Deputy Attorney General in charge of our Criminal Division, Kelly Donovan, is also with us. We're here today to announce that we have arrested 15 members of a 16-person cigarette smuggling ring that generated tens of millions of dollars. We don't know where all of that money went, but what we do know is deeply troubling. We know that some members of this group have ties to some very dangerous people. We know they were arrested with weapons. We know they made tens of millions of dollars, but so far have only found a fraction of that. And we know these are not people who used the money they generated from this criminal enterprise, substantial amounts of money. They didn't use it to live extravagant lifestyles. This was not lifestyles of the rich and famous. We are very concerned about where the money went, and we are still investigating that. And finally, we know that criminal rings like this have been used in the past to support terrorist groups and others in other parts of the world. We've taken this group of criminals off the streets and shut down a potentially very dangerous criminal enterprise, but this is not the end of our investigation. We are following the money, and will work to track it down wherever it went. This effort was a coordinated investigation by my office and the New York Police Department with support from the U.S. Department of Homeland Security and others. Together, we had wiretaps, aerial and electronic surveillance. Today, the streets of New York are safer because yesterday, based on this joint investigation, we executed search warrants in 4 states, 6 search warrants in New York City targeting storage facilities and homes, 2 warrants in Delaware targeting storage facilities, 2 warrants in Maryland targeting the home of the ring's boss, Basil Ramadan, at the top of the chart, and the office of the Ramadan brothers. The second in command and treasurer was his brother, and 1 warrant in New Jersey targeting a storage facility. We have 15 of the 16 in custody. 1, Ribi Awadi, flew to Jordan several weeks ago and has not yet been apprehended, but he is also being charged. Today in Supreme Court in Brooklyn, all 16 members were charged on 244 counts of enterprise corruption, money laundering, and related tax crimes. Each of these defendants face up to 25 years behind bars. The ring had its roots in Maryland, where the ringleaders, brothers Basil and Samir Ramadan, reside. Its distribution hub was in a warehouse in Delaware, and they flooded New York City from their distribution center with approximately 20,000 cartons of cigarettes a week, all untaxed. With the use of electronic and physical surveillance and the analysis of 17 months worth of financial records, we discovered that the heads of the enterprise, the Ramadans, brought tens of millions of dollars in cigarettes over this period of time from a wholesale cigarette dealer, Cooper Booth. The Ramadan brothers funneled more than $55 million in cash transported in garbage bags from New York down to local financial institutions in and around Ocean City, Maryland, and laundered those funds to purchase additional cigarettes and for other purposes. Several times a week, co-conspirator Abdul Azaria, who is the 3rd person, the transporter on the chart, from Brooklyn, drove with as much as $100,000 in cash per trip from New York to Delaware, and he gave the cash to the brothers in plastic garbage bags. Yesterday was one of those driving days for Mr. Abu Zaria, and our investigators busted the Ramadans and busted the transporter in the act. The brothers had Abu Zaria's cash, and Abu Zaria had the Ramadan cigarettes. In addition, during the search of Basil Ramadan's residence, we recovered more than $1.4 million that was hidden in his home and car, and also found a .22 caliber handgun. Homeland Security assisted in this joint investigation and provided critical surveillance, including in Virginia, Delaware, and New Jersey. They put planes in the air and helped us track the suspects, the cash, and the cigarettes from 10,000 feet as they moved between states. And I have to credit the NYPD. This case began, and my office's involvement in the case began when in the summer of 2012, when the people from the Intelligence and Division came to us with reports that one of the suspects who was being monitored was dealing in stolen baby formula. And we began tracking and monitoring the suspect and looking at financial records. And within a month, we uncovered a much broader, extraordinarily profitable cigarette smuggling enterprise where they were selling untaxed cigarettes and laundering the money from those sales. In addition to the trio I just mentioned, the conspiracy includes New York-based distributors and New York-based resellers who would distribute the cigarettes and sell them to grocery stores and markets around New York City. One of the resellers, Mohammed Saif of Brooklyn, also resold the untaxed cigarettes to grocery stores in Albany and Schenectady counties. One Brooklyn distributor actually was overheard on wiretaps saying to Basil Ramadan, "This business is better than selling drugs," acknowledging both the illegal and the lucrative nature of their business. So the seamless effort between our agencies has produced this result. But as I say, we have discovered that they flooded New York with untaxed cigarettes. In Virginia, I think the tax is something like 30 cents. New York City, $5.85 a pack. In the period of time we were looking at, they flooded New York City and the northern counties with more than 1.37 million cartons of untaxed cigarettes. They beat New York City and New York State out of $80 million, actually more than $80 million in state and city taxes, which we are seeking to recover, and beyond the tens of millions of dollars that they reinvested in their illegal enterprise. The Ramadan brothers also laundered millions of dollars in illegal profits, and as I said, we have only recovered a small portion of this illegal cash and are very seriously concerned about where the proceeds from this enterprise went. Our investigation is ongoing, and we'll seek to determine where this money landed, either in the U.S. or overseas. We will not tolerate this sort of criminal enterprise, and we will put this sort of criminals behind bars, and we will seek to find out everyone who is connected to this substantial and ambitious criminal ring. A forfeiture action has been lodged by our office to freeze all proceeds related to this criminal enterprise, and as of an hour ago, we had already frozen more than $6 million that appear to have come from this ring. It's a very important step in our effort to follow the money. And I want to say that, as it has been the case in several occasions, we could not have better partners in investigation and prosecution of crime than the New York City Police Department, and I'd like to present New York City Police Commissioner Ray Kelly.
Thank you, Eric. I certainly want to commend the Attorney General and also James Hayes, who is the Special Agent in charge of Homeland Security Investigations, who couldn't be here today for their outstanding work and their staff's work on this very important case. I also want to thank our Sentry partners, the Maryland State Police, the Pennsylvania State Police, New Jersey State Police, for their participation here, and of course our outstanding Commissioner of Intelligence, David Cohn, and the Commanding Officer of the Intelligence Division, Chief Tom Galati, as well as the lead investigator, Sean Foley, who's over there, and our Intelligence Research Specialist, Samantha Lomelli. Now, the core mission of the NYPD's Intelligence Division, since it was reconstituted in 2002, has been to prevent another terrorist attack against New York City. So far, so good. We haven't been successfully attacked since 9/11, but it's not for lack of trying. The terrorists seem to want to come back here. We have defeated multiple plots against the city through a combination of efforts by our intelligence division, through joint efforts with our federal partners and intelligence agencies overseas, and sometimes we've just been lucky. This case started because we were being vigilant about terrorism. Through combined efforts of detectives and intelligence analysts, we discovered that individuals who were on our radar for links to known terrorists were engaged in a massive raid on the New York State Treasury in the form of cigarette tax avoidance. The association of some of the suspects in this case to Ari Halbersham's killer, to the blind sheikh, and to a top Hamas official concerned us greatly. Take, for example, Yosef O'Day. Earlier this year, he said he had sold 15,000 cartons of untaxed cigarettes worth about $780,000 to 3 customers alone. O'Day also had a business selling baby formula, and one of his investors was the blind sheikh Omar Abdel Rahman, who in the 90s had apparently provided O'Day with $10,000 so that he could invest it in his baby formula company. Of course, as we know, the blind sheikh has been convicted for his role in the plots against New York City landmarks in the 1990s. O'Day also had personal and financial ties to Ahmed Abdel Sattar, who served as spokesman for the blind sheikh during the 1995 landmarks trial, and who had conveyed the sheikh's message to his followers in Egypt and Afghanistan. Now, according to the transcripts of his own trial, Sattar stated that he invested $10,000, as I say, for the blind sheikh in the baby formula business. In that trial, it was also alleged that Sattar used O'Day's phone to receive calls from a leader of an extremist Egyptian Islamic group to discuss what threats to make against the United States in the immediate aftermath of the attack against the USS Cole. Sattar was convicted in 2005 of conspiracy to kill and kidnap persons in a foreign country and for soliciting crimes of violence. Now, another of the suspects arrested yesterday was Muafak Askar. Like Odar, Askar was one of the untaxed cigarettes distributors, in this case with links to known terrorists. He was the confidant of Rashid Baz. That individual was the Lebanese immigrant who fired on a van full of Hasidic students on the Brooklyn Bridge in 1994, killing Ari Halbersham, 16-year-old Ari Halbersham. Baz, who was convicted and sentenced to 141 years, referred to Askar as his, quote, Palestinian uncle. Mohammed Saif is a sub-distributor in this case who sold untaxed cigarettes directly to bodegas and other small retailers. Saif was of interest to the NYPD because of previous intelligence reporting and because we believe that he lived for some time in the same 3-story Brooklyn walk-up occupied by Nasser al-Khatib, who was the personal secretary to Musa Marzouk. And now Marzouk was the de facto leader of Hamas in the 1980s and early 1990s, and a central fundraiser for the organization here in the United States. Marzouk was deported in 1997 and remains a top Hamas official in Egypt. So while it hasn't been established yet where the illicit proceeds in this case ended up, as the Attorney General said, we're concerned because similar schemes have been used in the past to help fund terrorist organizations like Hamas and Hezbollah. Our federal partners continue to investigate the money trail. Meanwhile, we've arrested the principals in this massive scheme and the hemorrhaging of tax revenues that they've caused. We have a responsibility both to protect the taxpayers and to make certain that we are neither targeted nor exploited by terrorists. We couldn't have made this case without the dedication and the skill of the people in this room and many others who could not be here. And again, my thanks to all of you. And now we're going to hear from Agent Scandifio. Agent?
Thank you, Christy. Good afternoon. I am Anthony Scandifio, the Deputy Special Agent in charge for ICE, Homeland Security Investigations in New York. Our primary mission is to defend America's borders from foreign nationals who desire to commit acts of violence and use illicit proceeds to finance those acts. We are proud to be a part of this case alongside the New York State Attorney General's Organized Crime Task Force and the New York City Police Department. It is our partnership that has flourished over the past 4 years and is evident today by the success of this investigation. This criminal organization allegedly engaged in the business of trafficking untaxed cigarettes and the laundering of more than $40 million in illegal profits. They did this by allegedly purchasing real property and businesses, assets throughout the United States. These illicit funds can then be used to further finance criminal activity that threatens our national security and the public safety of Americans home and abroad. HSI New York special agents assisted in the identification and seizure of multiple bank accounts used to launder the illicit cash proceeds. Additionally, agents monitored the bulk cash coming in and out of the country. This is one of the many things we do. This case serves as an example of how HSI's focus goes beyond the immigration enforcement. My thanks to all the agencies who worked on this case, from our own special agents Andy Bora, Billy Harnett, Maria Marzan, to our federal, state, and local law enforcement partners. My particular thanks to New York State Attorney General Eric Schneiderman and the New York City Police Commissioner Raymond Kelly. Without their support, these charges and arrests would not be possible.